Chair will recognize himself. I would have left this untouched, but the record cannot stand as it is. Senator Johnson called out the chair saying that I have not apologized for the speech I made on the Senate floor, and I will not apologize for the speech I made on the Senate floor. If we cannot call out comments for what they are, if we don't understand that words have power to them, sometimes very negative, powerful consequences, then we can never challenge whether it be anti-Semitism or racism or other elements. My speech and the comments I made, and I think that the comments that Dr. Lipstadt referenced to were about the comments, not about the person. And in that regard, when you say that you describe those who stormed the Capitol on January 6th as people who, quote, truly respect law enforcement and love this country, but would worry if the mob had been Black Lives Matter protesters, I think that's deeply, deeply problematic. So I'll ask unanimous consent to include my speech of that day in the record for the context. I think it's also, without objection, I think it's also worth pointing out that the rioters on that day literally wore and bore Nazi symbolism, including T-shirts that said 6MWE, which stands for 6 million, those who perished in the Holocaust, wasn't enough. And a T-shirt saying Camp Auschwitz on one side, and on the other side of that T-shirt, staff, as well as Confederate flags and nooses. So maybe the senator wasn't afraid for his life, but every Jewish person in the Capitol certainly had a reason to be concerned for their lives. So it is in that context that I made my remarks, and let me close on this. I have a record replete of nominees under the previous administration who made incredibly outrageous statements, and yet in each and every context, they were confirmed. And some of them really didn't have the background to be confirmed for the positions they were confirmed to. In this case, we have a nominee that is impeccable in terms of their knowledge of the subject matter. Probably not just the U.S., but a global expert and scholar on the question of anti-Semitism. I think if you can't call out an anti-Semitic trope or prejudice, how in God's name are you going to do this job? Your proven history of fighting against anti-Semitism here in the United States and around the world, I think, makes you uniquely qualified for this position. So I just want to ask you two questions, Dr. Lipstadt. If confirmed, will you continue to call out all incidents of anti-Semitism, regardless of where these prejudices emanate from in the global community?
Absolutely, because after I stop this position, I still have to live with myself.
And regarding responsibilities, do you understand the difference between making comments as a private citizen versus as a public servant?
Absolutely. I've learned a lot and already have begun an education with would-be colleagues at the State Department. That may be the hardest part of this task, but yes, I understand the difference.
And do you commit to abide by the State Department rules for social media comments that you make in your official capacity, guidance that was, I would note, routinely ignored and flouted by the last administration?
110%.
All right. With that, I have questions for the record for the other nominees. I don't want you to think you're not the object of my affection, but you are all going to serve in important positions, and I look forward to your responses. As it relates to those questions and the questions of other members of the committee, they will be open to the close of business tomorrow, Wednesday. I would urge members who have questions for the record to submit them. I would also urge the nominees to give significant responses to those questions so that we can consider your nominations before a business committee. And with the thanks of the committee, this hearing is adjourned.